Hey everybody, Livingston here. Today we're jumping into Season 3, Episode 1 of the Twilight Zone. It's called 2, and it came out September 15th, 1961. But before we get started, let's jump into that giveaway I was discussing last week. Now, what's this giveaway I'm doing? Well, I do commissioned portraits for people, but I thought it'd be fun to do a movie poster portrait. Here are some examples of what I do. So I'll take your face along with a couple friends or family members and put them in your favorite scene of a movie or an actual poster that I will create from scratch, and it's going to be something that you can enjoy with your friends and family on your wall, or you can give it to somebody since it's getting close to Christmas time. Now, if you want to participate in the possibility of being chosen to have a movie poster portrait done of you, be sure to submit your idea for a movie poster portrait to mindmazentertainment@gmail.com, and I will get back with you at the end of this month, October, to announce the winner. Now be sure to like, share, and subscribe to continue on this voyage to episode 156 of The Twilight Zone. And before we get started, let's jump into your comments of what you had to say about last week's episode, my top 5 of Twilight Zone Season 2. Robert Jewell 9727 says, my 5 in order of release: King 9 Will Not Return, Nick of Time, Back There, 22, and Shadow Play. The runners-up are Eye of the Beholder and 100 Yards Over the Rim. Wonderful channel, Livingston. Thanks for engaging with everyone. Well, Robert, I appreciate the comments and we'll keep engaging with everybody. When it came to your top 5, I had a couple of them that actually ended up in my top 5. King 9 Will Not Return, 22, and Shadow Play were definitely ones that ended up in my top 5. I was really thinking about Nick of Time. William Shatner in that role was wonderful. I thought it was great. It was actually one of those episodes that didn't have any kind of fantasy with it. It's almost like he just interpreted everything that machine said was something that was actually going to happen when he was in that diner with his wife. But I didn't sadly put it in my top 5. Definitely would have been like a runner-up in my top 10. So is 100 Yards Over the Rim. 100 Yards Over the Rim was one of those episodes that I was going back and forth. It might have been my 6th choice if I had to number all of the episodes. But when it came to my top 5, it just didn't make the cut. But a lot of the episodes that you named would definitely be in my top 10 if I had a top 10. But that's like half the season right there. Anywho, we got Rick Kennett 143. The story behind 22 goes back farther than Twilight Zone. It features in the British anthology film Dead of Night, 1945, where a hospital patient sees a hearse driver who says, "Room for one more inside." After being discharged, he boards a bus where the conductor is the hearse driver, who says the same thing. He jumps off the bus, and just as well, this was based on a 1906 story by E.F. Benson, and the idea may not even be original there. That's a very good possibility that I'm sure it did not originate in 1906, that it probably even goes further than that. A lot of stories do, and a lot of things that we think are original are really original stories. When it came to the actual story of 22, I understand that that came from some other place, but Final Destination definitely came from that episode from The Twilight Zone, even though it was a story that didn't originate from that actual episode, but they did take a lot from that episode to continue on that movie and the actual franchise that turned into like 6 movies altogether. But yeah, for sure, it definitely wasn't an original take of that actual story, but it was original in the fact that they were using airplanes, and the way they did it in that way was very much like Final Destination. But thanks for the comment. Very much appreciated, Rick. Brian Hicks 3272 says, my top 5 episodes are in no particular order: The After Hours, Season 1, Death's Head Revisited, Season 3, The Dummy, Season 3, The Howling Man, Season 3, and The Masks, Season 5. There are so many great episodes, it's hard to choose only 5. That's why I do like a top 5 for every season, and maybe when I get to the very end of the actual series, I will do a top 5 or a top 10 of all my episodes that I enjoyed in the entire season. I'm sure it'll be taken from my top 5s of each season, but yeah, it's interesting to see that you have quite a few top 3s. 3 of your 5 are from Season 3. So that's very cool. The Masks, Season 5, still have a ways to go before I get there. But Season 1, The After Hours, definitely was a good episode. Can definitely see why you would have that in your top 5 for the entire series. But thank you for your top 5, and I will continue on going on and answering your comments anytime you like to comment, Brian. Gerald McBoing 7401, I don't know why, but I laugh every time your name pops up. This was such an innovative series that it can still play with your mind in any number of ways today. Very true. I mean, it's one of those shows that is timeless in a lot of respects, even though there's things that, of course, are from 1950s and 1960s when it comes to like set design and the way they did certain things. But story-wise, it's very timeless. You can actually take these stories and retell them, and they would actually have the same sort of ending and the way they kind of are drawn out. But yeah, looking forward to diving more into the Twilight Zone, continuing on forward with the original series, and then actually diving into the series of the 80s and the early 2000s, as well as the most recent one that came out a few years ago. But yeah, definitely a great series. So glad that I started this up last year and continuing on with this channel. It's definitely been awesome to revisit all these things when it comes to Twilight Zone. RSEFX says, great choice for your number one, Shadow Play. Yep, very nightmarish, beautifully acted and shot with a true sense of an all-pervasive feeling of existential dread. Pretty much agree with your choices here, with the exception of The Obsolete Man, about which I've previously commented, oh well, as you say, so true, to each their own. Looking forward to Season 3 via your videos. Hey, very much appreciate you replying back. I'm glad that you enjoyed the majority of my choices when it came to my top 5. I do remember you saying that you weren't a big fan of The Obsolete Man, but hey, as we say, to each their own. And I very much will continue on with Season 3. So thank you so much for commenting, and I will continue on, my friend. Man, what is this? Teeny cum 54? what that infers to when it comes to your name, but they just say thanks. I guess I might have commented on them and maybe they're just saying thanks, but you're welcome. Robert Schulenberger says, the next and last Burgess Meredith episode is in Season 4. It's an hour-long episode. Jack Klugman was in an hour-long episode for Season 4 as well. Spoiler alert. No, just kidding. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them in their last outings. It's too bad we won't get any more Burgess Meredith in Season 3 or Season 5. It's actually been nice to see him in all these different episodes because I really don't see him a lot when it comes to the movies that I've watched. Of course, I've seen him as the Penguin in the Batman. I've also watched him in Grumpy and Grumpier Old Men, as well as playing Mickey in the Rocky series. But to see him in different roles in the Twilight Zone has actually been wonderful to check out, as well as Jack Klugman. I mean, I've seen him in shows like The Odd Couple or Quincy, or just popping up as somebody who shows up in television shows here and there. But yeah, it's nice to see all these actors that I've watched and being different and showing different ways of how they're acting and how they create characters, basically. Greg number 5 says, my Season 2 top 5 in no particular order is 22, 100 Yards Over the Rim, Shadow Play, Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up, and Odyssey of Flight 33. Again, all these episodes that you choose are things that I was really thinking about putting in my top 5. I mean, 22 made it, Shadow Play made it, but Will the Real Martians Please Stand Up, Odyssey of Flight 33, and 100 Yards Over the Rim would have definitely ended up in my top 10. As I said earlier, the 100 Yards Over the Rim was definitely going to be in my top 5 until I just came across other episodes that ended up knocking it down the totem pole. But when it came to the other ones like Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up and Odyssey of Flight 33, definitely were close to my top 5, but they maybe ranked more closer to like 7 or 8 or 9, at least in the top 10. But those were definitely ones that were in the running to be in my top 5. But thanks again, Greg, for commenting. Much appreciated. P Sparks 3419 says, Livingston, you picked some great episodes for your Season 2 top 5. It's been a lot of fun making this Twilight Zone journey with you and the other viewers. Here are my top 5 episodes for this season. 1, Back There. 2, 100 Yards Over the Rim. 3, The Rip Van Winkle Caper. 4, The Silence. And 5, Nick of Time. Yeah, again, you picked episodes that I was contemplating. Rip Van Winkle Caper, maybe in my top 15. I wasn't going to put it in my top 5, but I did enjoy the episode. It's just really hard to pick my top 5 episodes when it comes to Twilight Zone, since they make so many great episodes all together. I have not yet once come across an episode that I didn't like. I've liked everything I've watched so far in the Twilight Zone. There have been some weak episodes. Mostly the comedic ones are the ones where I'm like, whatever about. But when it comes to the more serious tones, definitely enjoy those way more. But hey, P Sparks, much appreciate you joining me on this journey of the Twilight Zone, and I'm going to continue on. It's going to be a long time before I end this journey. So stick around for more, and let's continue on with Season 3, Episode 1, 2.
Your next stop, the Twilight Zone. This is a jungle, but it's another kind of jungle. The kind that comes in the aftermath of man's battles against himself. It's been 5 years since a human being walked these streets. This is the first day of the 6th year, as man used to measure time.
Things have not been wonderful from humankind, huh? Well, this episode, the budget seems a little bigger.
The time, perhaps 100 years from now, or sooner.
Hope not.
The signposts are in English, but the place is the Twilight Zone.
What a place. That sucks for most people. 2. I'm guessing 2 means there's 2 people left. For being a post-apocalyptic, she's well-dressed and seemed well-kempt as well. They must have showers. Oh, food. Oh, killed the spider. Wasn't doing nothing to you. Canned food. Uh-oh, shadows. Hello? Hey, I know who that is. Take her food she saw first. Yeah, it was the Hollywood tough guy, Charles Bronson. You don't get tough guys like him anymore in television and movies. Girl? That matches the calendar. Must be girl. Dove. It's crazy how these newspapers are still okay and haven't like flown away anywhere. It's out in the open. There's not like been a breeze. Nah, gotta go back, don't you? Gonna save some for her? Oh, she's still there. Wake up. Nothing worth having. Wake up.
Here, invader.
Why is she an invader?
The only reason I can see for our fighting is that your uniform is a different color than mine. Do you understand my language? I suppose not. There's no longer any reason for us to fight. No longer any armies.
Everything's gone. What are you fighting for?
That were once uniforms. There are no more boundaries, governments, or noble causes. Therefore, no reason to fight.
Yeah. I think war is very much pointless. I think most people think that.
That I do hereby declare peace upon the entire world!
Hooray! Does she speak English?
Very pretty now that I see you clearly. But I'm afraid the only way I could convince you of my honorable intentions would be by force.
Don't want to do that. Go with him. I didn't realize it until just now, but that's Elizabeth Montgomery. And if you don't know who the hell Elizabeth Montgomery is, she is the main character in Bewitched, Samantha. I just didn't recognize her because she usually has blonde hair. Oh, knob. Where'd he go? She threw it in the trash can.
Hello again.
She's interested. Speak. It's just a can. Stop taking your knife out. Question is, are they the only two there? I mean, I know that's the name of the episode, but are there more? She's very skittish. Well, I guess they're stuck together now. It's useless. Romance. This could be us. A gun? Standoff. Who wins? You'll move, creep. That's a death wish. He still likes looking at dresses.
Procrastinate.
For you. It's not really practical to be wearing around. Looks nice for an evening. I don't think they're going to have any evenings out in this era.
Put it on.
Maybe later. Keep the knife. He ain't coming in to hurt you. Be one of our infantry heroes. Propaganda. What the hell? Oh, those are laser guns. Oh, he's just gonna leave. He's like, whatever, I ain't dealing with this crazy crap. Did you mess up? Did you jump to conclusions? Hey, you found some jarred stuff. Nice. Girl.
Go away.
She doesn't want to now, but she's wearing a dress.
That's a civilian territory.
I think she's changed her mind. Man, girls gotta be careful, you know? The post-apocalyptic world, you just don't know who you can trust.
Procrastinate.
Does that mean beautiful? God, it didn't break. Words? She's smiling. All right. Now we're friends.
This has been a love story about two lonely people who found each other in the Twilight Zone.
Well, that's the end of that episode, and I thought it was going to be something that would continue on. I actually got engrossed in it to the point where I'm like, okay, what's going to happen now? And then he just ended at the point where we kind of see these people just kind of get together and realize that we need to trust each other to kind of go forward and have companionship in this world. It's kind of sad that we didn't get to see more of it. It's definitely one of those episodes where I wish I could have stuck around and actually seen a movie of it, and I probably would have enjoyed it just to see where they would have gone, where the relationship would go from this point on. And it's kind of sad that this is the way the world is, where you have humankind, they have disagreements with one another, then suddenly we're at odds with one another to the point where we want to blow each other up and use nuclear weapons and destroy everything that we've built for humanity. It's just a very sad thing. I seen something not too long ago where they were talking about this, talking about how war is started by old men who have disagreements across the pond with each other, and then suddenly, boom, they're sending their youth in to go fight because they couldn't come to some kind of ultimatum or, agreement. And it's just sad that that's the way things are, that we're just so stuck in the way we are that we'll fight and go to war and kill everybody before we even have some kind of agreement or some kind of peace. And we have a lot of that going on today where people are just like, we have to kill the other people because they are against what we believe. It's like, why don't you just stay in your country and I'll stay over here and we'll all believe whatever we want to believe and live the way we want to live. But sadly, that's just not the way the world is. And we all have to be at odds, and we have a lot of greed, and it's just a horrible way to be. I wish we kind of lived in that world where Star Trek, everyone's at peace with one another unless we're, fighting with Klingons or Kardashians or something like that. But definitely enjoyed the heck out of this one. Definitely a great start for season 3. Let's jump into some trivia and see what it took to get this episode off the ground. Prekrasny, the only word Elizabeth Montgomery character says, is Russian for pretty. I said beautiful, but it was close. In an attempt to make their world seem more futuristic to the viewer in 1961, there is a sign in the barbershop showing a haircut costs $5. Yeah, it's more like, what, 10, 15, 20, depending on whose hair you're cutting today? I haven't had a haircut since prom. Ever since prom. I shaved it, and when I went to go grow it back, it was early growing back, so I just kept it shaved. Hal Roach Studios in Culver City, California provided the crew with cheap filming since the neglected studio appeared as damaged as their script called for the war-torn landscape to be. It only lasted 2 years after the airing. Writer-director Montgomery Pittman wanted to cast Sherry Jackson, who happens to be his stepdaughter, as the woman, but network executives said that at 19 years old, she was too young. The role was eventually given to Elizabeth Montgomery, who was 29. Charles Bronson of Lithuanian descent portrayed the American soldier, while Elizabeth Montgomery, an American actress, portrayed the Russian soldier. Similar to Probe 7 Over and Out, in that a man and a woman were the only two people on a planet and did not speak the same language. In that instance, they were astronauts, which we haven't gotten to yet. 1963, we're 2 years away. The jacket, pants, and the boots of the male soldier uniform are all of Confederate origin. The swirls up his arm are usually found on Confederate generals' uniforms. This was likely a budget-saving move since MGM Studios had a large storage of costumes. The female soldier's uniform is supposed to be Russian. Aside from Rod Serling's introduction, there is no spoken dialogue until about 9 minutes into the episode. The music on the soundtrack as the man strikes the woman and she falls to the floor is the exact music that was used as the theme for the CBS Radio Mystery Theater, which ran on the CBS radio network from 1974 to 1982. Since the Twilight Zone was produced by CBS Television, all of the music became part of the CBS music library, and much of the music from the CBS Radio Mystery Theater was drawn from the Twilight Zone. The calendar on the wall, which shows February but not year, is consistent with American calendars of 1961, also 1967, showing Lincoln's birthday on February 12th and Washington's birthday on February 22nd. All of the stars of the later TV series Bewitched, with the exception of Dick Sargent and George Tobias, had roles in the Twilight Zone. Elizabeth Montgomery, 2, Dick York, The Purple Testament, and Penny for Your Thoughts. Agnes Moorehead, The Invaders. David White, A World of Difference, and I Sing the Body Electric. Alice Ghostly, Static, and Sandra Gould, Cavender Is Coming, and What's in the Box. One of only 4 Twilight episodes to exclusively use, aside from Rod Serling, only 2 on-screen actors. The others are A Nervous Man in a $4 Room, seen it, starring Joe Mantle, and William D. Gordon, A Game of Pool, starring Jack Klugman and Jonathan Winters, which I'm sure it's one we will see next season. And finally, the highly controversial and temporarily banned episode, The Encounter, starring Neville Brand and George Takei. I wonder why that was banned. I guess I'll find out when I get there. The production utilized the defunct 1961 Hal Roach Studio backlot for the urban setting. Sharp-eyed viewers will notice the exact same building seen in various Little Rascals episodes from the mid-30s. The derelict cinema had several posters in the foyer advertising the fictional film Furlough Romance, the film actress depicted in the poster apparently to be Shirley Temple as a young woman. A key element of this episode is the role reversals of the two characters. The male soldier had become the pacifist who no longer wishes to fight, while the female remains combatant. Well, that's it for this episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue on to episode 156 of The Twilight Zone. Until next time, see you later.